In this video, I will be discussing many things that deal with chemistry and what makes up the world around us. In class, we will talk about how all of these things relate to our study of biology. In order to understand certain cell processes like osmosis, diffusion, cellular respiration, and photosynthesis, we must first understand the basics of chemistry. So, everything that surrounds us is made up of matter and energy. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, like the walls in our classroom or the desks that you sit in. Energy is anything that brings about change in something. An example of energy is light energy from the sun, because that energy is what allows the plant to make its own food. Atoms are what make up matter. Each atom has a nucleus that contains protons, which have a positive charge, and neutrons, which do not have a charge. On the outside of the atom are the electrons, which have a negative charge. These facts will be important to remember when we start talking about compounds in the next few slides. Energy is what holds the parts of an atom together. Elements are made up of only one kind of atom and cannot be broken down into a simpler form. Examples are oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and carbon. Most things in our world are made up of a combination of elements, not just one element. For example, water is made up of two elements, oxygen and hydrogen. You've probably seen a periodic table before. Here it is right here. But if not, this is simply a table that organizes the elements into groups based on certain characteristics. You will not have to memorize all of these elements right now, so don't worry. Compounds make up two or more elements in exact proportions. Examples of compounds are water and sugar. As you have probably noticed, all of these things build on each other. Atoms make up elements, and elements make up compounds. Now we will talk about two specific types of compounds. First, it's important to know what a molecule is. A molecule is a group of atoms held together by a chemical bond. Atoms in a molecule cannot be separated by physical means. In other words, you cannot physically pull these atoms apart. Here is an example of a molecule right here. Here's two atoms chemically bonded together. That's an oxygen molecule. Molecular compounds form when different atoms share their outermost electrons. Remember, electrons are on the outside of an atom. Water is an example of a molecular compound. As you can see in the picture, when hydrogen and oxygen combine, their outermost electrons are shared, and an entire new substance forms, which is water. This substance cannot be separated by physical means. So I cannot physically separate a water molecule. I don't have to chemically separate it. Ionic compounds are a different type of compound. They are made up of ions, which are electrically charged atoms. When an atom has more protons than electrons, it is positively charged, like this sodium ion right here. When an atom has more electrons than protons, it is negatively charged, just like this chlorine atom. When ions of opposite charges come together, the charges attract to one another to form a neutral compound. For example, sodium, a positively charged ion, combines with chlorine ion, a negatively charged ion, to form a neutral compound. And when these two ions come together, they form salt. A mixture is a combination of substances in which individual substances keep their own properties. This means that these substances can be physically separated without any type of chemical change. Examples of mixtures are Italian dressing and ocean water. Now we are going to discuss two types of additional compounds. Remember, a compound is simply something that contains two or more elements in exact proportions. Organic compounds are something that always have carbon and hydrogen. Do not get this confused with the organic section at the grocery store. This type of compound is something different. Organic compounds are usually associated with living things, and there are 4 groups of organic compounds: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. In the next few slides, I'll talk individually about each one of these groups. Carbohydrates supply energy for cell processes and are found in things that you eat, like pasta and bread. Specific examples of carbohydrates are sugar and starches. Lipids are oils and fats and do not mix with water. These are found in pretty much everything that you eat. Proteins are made up of something called amino acids and are known as the building blocks of many structures in your body. Mussels contain large amounts of proteins. Proteins can be found in meats that you eat and even peanut butter. Nucleic acids are the last organic compound that we'll talk about, and they store important coded information in the cells. An example of a nucleic acid is DNA, which carries important information that directs all cell activities. As you may have learned in the last unit, DNA is found in the nucleus of the cell. Inorganic compounds are made from elements other than carbon and usually contain fewer atoms than organic compounds. Inorganic compounds are found in many of the foods that we eat. One of the most important inorganic compounds is water, as living things are composed of more than 50% water. We depend on water to survive, and we could only live a few days without it. One other example of an inorganic compound is calcium phosphate, which gives strength to the bones. Calcium phosphate can be found in milk or other dairy products. This last slide simply lists everything that we discussed in class today. Please write down any questions that you have at the bottom of your notes so that we can discuss it in class tomorrow. Thank you.